we're rolling. I think OBS is frozen. So, there we go. Hey guys, and welcome to this week's edition of the Bilgecast Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host with a reasonable amount, I wouldn't say the most, Ollie Johnson, and with me as always are my cohorts, Sam Congrave and Ian Burrows. How you doing, guys?
Hey.
Hey, dude.
Right, so, Raw and SmackDown this week. So, general thoughts on the show. Sam, why don't you go first?
I am half dead. I don't care. Raw, the only thing to come out of Raw this week, if anything, was Ronda Rousey doing something.
Yeah.
Being the third wheel in what is ultimately, her match.
Yeah. Well, I do think it's very interesting that consistently the women's segments get the main event these days. Like, you wouldn't see that as little as a year ago.
I don't know how long that's going to go with Rousey's recent behaviour off screen.
I don't really know anything about that, but I can sort of guess from context.
She's pretty much breaking kayfabe. She's threatening real-life violence on Becky Lynch using a real name. And recently, last night, she went onto her official YouTube page to tell people, fuck all of you, fuck everybody, the WWE fans included.
Okay, that's going overboard a bit.
And she's only advertised for one more show after WrestleMania, after which she's going to go off to commit the grievous crime of actually breeding.
Right.
Does Ronda Rousey ever kayfabe?
I don't know.
It's hard to say because there was that time when she wrestled Charlotte Flair, but people were cheering for Becky, and then she had a nervous breakdown where she started screaming at the fans after the cameras were taken off her. But she was caught telling a fan to fuck off.
Oh, bit of news that you might find interesting. Jeff Jarrett now has a backstage role with the company.
Well, if Abyss can get a job there, so can JEFF.
Well, yeah, but Abyss doesn't have Jeff's history with Vince.
Also, funny thing, they're now acknowledging China a lot more.
Oh, well, that's nice.
I know you don't follow the YouTube channel, but they actually started doing lists on China, like the men she's beaten.
Well, good on WWE for doing the bare fucking minimum for acknowledging one of their talents.
Well, look, at this point with China, you're not gonna get her put in on her own, even though we all know she deserves to be. If you can't have a Greg sausage roll.
Sorry, that was a very passive aggressive comment I just made.
Look, if you can't have a Greg sausage roll, you're gonna have to settle for the really cheap bakery one. So just take it. You're hungry and you need something.
Yeah.
Well, why not just have the steak and cheese roll?
Because I don't want Road Dogg and Billy Gunn necessarily want Road Dogg and Billy Gunn as well.
Okay, I'm getting a little bit confused with this analogy, but
I don't know, we could always throw in Shawn Michaels and claim it's the vegan sausage roll at this point. You're going to piss someone off.
Right. What also was I going to say?
So
yeah, I was
make.
I was watching a Cultaholic video earlier. That's where I got the Jeff Jarrett news back from. A couple of other things they said. Roman Reigns wants there to be an off-season. So, what do you guys think of that?
New Japan's been doing it for years, so of course copy the people who are not assholes.
Well, yeah, but I think it is interesting that it's Roman Reigns who is saying it.
Of course he said. Well, look, it might not necessarily be just him saying it. It may be a load of people keeping in mind they'll acknowledge Roman Reigns is saying it.
Yeah, that's true. It might not just be Roman Reigns saying it, but it's Roman Reigns being listened to. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because keep in mind they've been doing this for years with people. Like, suggestions have been made, but because a top tier guy says it, it's fine for them. Now, who knows? The others might have said it, but not said it to the bosses because they don't have the clout.
Yeah, well, let's not forget what happened the last time they tried to unionize.
Well, I'll just say this about an off-season and why it works for New Japan, so context can be made.
Yeah.
The reason they do it in New Japan is, in case you haven't noticed, everyone's getting fucking hurt all the time in WWE because they don't have days off. They are working house shows and everything. This has led to Tommaso Ciampa needing neck surgery just yesterday. So
Yeah.
he's out.
Wait, neck surgery? I thought he'd injured his leg.
No, his neck's actually hurt. He's needed neck surgery.
Oh.
Then, of course, you've had Becky Lynch getting hurt, but that's mainly a Nia Jax issue. But then everyone else, you've had Roman Reigns get hurt in the past. Daniel Bryan's been hurt. Asuka's had an injury scare just this week. The thing is that New Japan does it so that they can have a bit of time off. Then they come on and they can put on high-performance matches again.
Well, you've also got to keep in mind that New Japan's style is quite a bit more consistently physical.
I know, but you've also got to consider that when you consider the way a lot of their matches go, like, you know, with Will Ospreay and, you know, Will Guy and all those other guys.
It's a lot more high impact and high risk consistently.
Not only that, the matches can go longer. Like sometimes, like Kenny Omega and Okada can go an hour.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can't do that on a consistent basis. So
at a bare minimum, those guys need an off season.
Yeah, so having an off-season for WWE who don't have as much of a hard-hitting style but do have people who maybe need some time off to learn to wrestle. It can give them time to be with their families and stuff, give them time to rest up, and it can hype up other matches because, again, the reason Batista and Triple H isn't being seen as, oh god, this again, is because they haven't really touched each other in a match in like years.
Yeah, the audience has been given a chance to miss it.
Well, not just that, you don't see it on a weekly basis, them interacting and stuff on a weekly or even monthly basis, and time off can also help with that, like help make feuds, the matches feel fresher. Because other than that, you're just filling time with like squash matches or random matches thrown together that just don't ultimately matter.
Yeah, this is true. We haven't even touched on much of the show yet. My general thoughts on Raw, I guess, would be like, hold on, Ricochet and Aleister Black, are they on both shows or something? Because I distinctly remember
they're on both SmackDown and Raw at the moment. I don't know exactly what's going on with them, but funnily enough, I haven't seen much of. Well, I've obviously DIY weren't on Raw and SmackDown this week, but Aleister Black and Ricochet seem to be interacting with the tag team, with major tag teams, and because they seem to be in a feud on Raw with the Revival, but they also seem to be in a feud on SmackDown with Rude and Gable and the Bar.
Yeah.
It's got like two rivalries going on at once.
Yeah, this is true. Although I have got to say, I'm pretty high on them at the moment. I like what they do.
I honestly didn't think I'd like them as a team, but seeing them on Raw and stuff, I mean, yeah, they got screwed out of their tag team title win, which obviously was going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to lead to something though. I'm just going to break from the subject now to mention that I saw Ricochet wrestle live once. I think it was WCPW Leicester. That was the first night when Joe Hendry turned heel. And Alberto El Patron turned up on WCPW.
Oh, and while we're on the subject of WWE and other things, WWE have made it so that now they have no working relationship with Jim Ross anymore.
I did hear about that. I think I saw Ricochet wrestle live. I think he was there. Don't hold me to that.
Yeah, there's rumours that he may sign with AEW.
I'd like that at this point.
I'd like Jim Ross to call there, because he can still do it.
Another bit of info I picked up from the What Culture video. You know how AEW is being bankrolled by a billionaire?
Yeah.
Did you know he's more than twice as rich as Vince?
Yeah, I know. Vince is only worth about $2 billion. The guy
3.2 at this point.
What?
3.2 billion.
Okay, the other guy is like worth $7 billion.
Yeah.
And he also owns an American football team.
It's gonna be another like AEW is gonna be huge, whichever way it goes.
I think what's going to sign people over to it is the fact that it actually offers the care that, this guy who's in charge of it now, he has to look after football players and, he has to deal with their insurance and stuff and everything. But these guys, the wrestlers and everything. I mean, did you know Luke Perry's son is wrestling for AEW?
I did not know that.
Yeah, Luke Perry, the recently deceased Luke Perry's son is wrestling for AEW.
That's
I'm just
interesting.
going to throw that. I thought I'd throw that little bit of information your way. But yeah, moving back onto Raw, the women's segment. It was just Ronda Rousey attacking Becky and Charlotte, but Charlotte backing away because Charlotte's entire thing is just the person thrown into this feud, and Ronda Rousey is just being a bitch now.
The shows were alright while I was watching them, but I think you do have to throw in the caveat that you can't expect much of substance to happen on the shows right now, because they're leading up to Fastlane, which is in itself just something to finalise the card for WrestleMania. It's like, how much can you reasonably expect?
Fastlane is this weekend, is this Sunday.
Yeah.
So, this is literally just we're going to iron out the kinks here and there and do what we can to kill time before WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So, ultimately, nothing that happened on these shows at the moment matters in the grand scheme of things. It's the Dean Ambrose, when people were pissed off that Roman won the Royal Rumble and not Dean Ambrose, and they went, okay, here, we'll have Dean Ambrose face Triple H at Fastlane. Oh no, he lost, but you got your match right. That's all this is. It's literally, Kofi's going to have a bigger moment at WrestleMania, but let's throw Kevin Owens in, because he's just returned, but make him a big-ish deal, which is okay, I guess. I mean, I'm going to miss Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn being together, but again, just might as well just get it over with.
Yeah. I don't know, it's gonna need some more time for me to have a definitive opinion on this, but I think I like face Kevin Owens.
Well, if using a Stone Cold Stunner, that's been shown to work for everybody except Santino.
Yeah. Yeah, that's... Oh god, I remember the Santino Stunner.
Ugh, God. If there was ever a person who never deserves to be on television, it was Santino.
I don't know, I thought heel Santino was funny. With the honker meter. And the honker perfect Mountie meter.
Yeah, the honker Mountie perfect meter was great and all, but yeah. So we also got Tori Wilson announced for the Hall of Fame, and when I told Ian that, I got the response which everyone was giving. Why?
I don't recall her actually doing anything.
I remember when Dawn Marine was trying to fuck a dad, and then he actually died on screen.
Yeah, but...
And that was it.
But what did she do to earn a place in the Hall of Fame?
I mean, I think she was one of David Flair's hoes in WCW, because that's all the women were in WCW. They weren't actually wrestlers, which was a problem. And then she came over to WWE, whereupon she got into the earliest few... I remember she was a random geisha or something for Tajiri to shout abusive Japanese at. I didn't get any of that because she'd come to the ring with Tajiri and then he'd grab her in the ring and then start shouting at her in Japanese, and then she'd start crying and they'd never translate anything. And I was like, what the hell? Then she went into that weird relationship with Dawn Marie and then did nothing. Oh, and she bought a dog, which she occasionally rubbed the arse on people's faces sometimes. I mean, she didn't exactly do anything. Then again, WWE gave kudos to Rosa Mendez, who only ever wrestled 3 matches or so in 10 years.
Right.
Let's not forget that they put Drew Carey into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, so apparently it's a pretty low bar.
Oh, it is. I mean, the Honky Tonk Man's going in, and he's been on record as saying he has no respect for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Well, I say it's a lie, but they have a celebrity wing for special guest inductees. Like that's got to be a different criteria.
Oh, yeah, you can just get in for having an association, which is, how most people got in, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. But the rest of Raw was just another Aleister Black and Revival thing.
I like Aleister Black and the Revival.
I know that nothing's going to come of it on a weekly show.
Yeah.
Already had the match. Literally their first major match on Raw together was against the Revival, which they won. Then this week they got screwed out of it. Sorry, go on.
And Roman Reigns asking Seth Rollins to reform the Shield with Dean.
Why bother at this point?
Well, say whatever you want.
I thank you, I will. It's a waste of everybody's time and money.
But this is basically the right way to market Roman upon coming back, I think. And that's what they're thinking. He's most over when he's with the Shield.
Well, yeah. Might as well get what they can out of Dean before he goes off ski.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I still commend him for leaving, because I think that if more people leave WWE in droves, then obviously it'll be a bigger deal. But for now, it's just Dean.
Yeah. Well, apparently, Roman asked Seth if there was any chance, and then Seth was like, "Yeah."
The problem with the Shield overall is
They were boring.
it benefits Roman, but it benefits nobody else.
At this point, yeah, true. Because
it detracts from Seth and Dean, because Seth and Dean are their own people. Roman never got over the Shield. He never evolved past the Shield. I mean, he still uses their theme music as his music. He still dresses the same as he did when he was in the group. He's really not evolved past that. Seth and Dean did. And whenever they reform the Shield, it takes Seth and Dean away from whatever they're doing. Granted, Dean isn't doing as well as Seth is, but then again, he never was.
I don't think anyone's doing as well as Seth is in general.
Seth is the only major success story of the Shield. He's the guy who pretty much fixed the mess that they put themselves into when Roman couldn't do what they needed him to do.
I would argue, even outside the Shield in general, Seth Rollins is like an exceptional success story.
Look, the guy was the first ever NXT World Champion. Let's not forget that. He was a big deal in FCW. He was a big deal in Ring of Honor. So he was already, he already knew what he was doing before he even got there. He did well enough. He did well enough on the main roster to make himself one of the most despised heels, and had amazing chemistry with almost everyone he worked with. Managed to bring back the cowardly heel thing with J&J Security. Actually managed to pull out great matches. And yes, he injured 2 people, but that was those were accidents. Whereas on the other side of things, Dean had an interesting breakaway to begin with with his feud with Seth, but then got dragged into the Bray Wyatt thing, ruined his own kind of ruined his own WWE run by being so disinterested in being WWE champion. I think that hurt him in the long run more than anything else. And Roman was just kind of doing whatever he was told to do, regardless of how well it actually worked for him.
Yeah.
So he was more a victim of anything. And the problem as well with Dean is Dean was never a big deal before he came to WWE. He was a junk wrestler. He was a garbage wrestler before he came.
Well,
and by that I mean he was doing the ECW wannabe style shows. Didn't really have anything out of hitting people with light tubes.
Well, Dean didn't give his take on the whole reforming of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing, because before he could, Elias snuck up behind him and hit him with the guitar.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Elias. Now here's someone who's been dragged into what the fuck is even going on territory. He was a face. It was working for him. He was getting over, and then suddenly one day he's suddenly a heel because he attacked Jeff Jarrett. I mean, that,
Of all people.
Yeah. Oh, and Road Dogg as well. That thing. Although I did like his joke about telling Road Dogg to go back and continue making SmackDown's ratings go down. Elias, he's grown on me. I love it. I love his entire thing.
Yeah.
It's just a shame. It's just a shame that when they finally get him over, they then push him back into the role that screwed him over in the first place. Why not?
Why not, indeed?
As for Braun Strowman, I still think it's ridiculous that he's still dealing with Baron Corbin.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that. I cannot believe that. I mean, has Braun Strowman done anything noteworthy since winning the tag team titles with Nicholas?
He won the Greatest Royal Rumble,
Oh,
which
yeah,
they never watched again. He won the Money in the Bank and then got screwed out of it.
Yeah, this is the thing that baffles me. Like, that they consistently appear to just have no plans for Braun Strowman. Because on paper, he's everything Vince loves. And he's good. Like, he's super over with the fans. There's no way he shouldn't be in the main event right now.
The thing is, they've fed him to Brock Lesnar and damaged him so much, which is why I thought it was ridiculous that the whole, we don't want to put, we want to put someone else against Brock Lesnar this month because we don't want Braun Strowman. We want to put Finn Balor against Brock Lesnar because we don't want Braun to lose again and damage him. Like, you've already damaged him. You've had him face Brock Lesnar multiple times. Brock has beaten him, despite how much, it being the right time for Braun to be the champion multiple times. There's very few times you get an opportunity to get someone, have someone have that one moment that defines them as, the star. And they've had multiple chances to do it with Braun, and they've thrown it away each time. Now, he's reduced to working with a guy who really cannot work a good match to begin with. I'm sorry, Baron Corbin was never a good thing in NXT. He was never a big deal on SmackDown, and he was never a big thing on Raw.
He has never been on my to-watch list. I'll give you that.
Well, let's face it, in NXT, he was a jobber. He just was there to lose to everybody else. And then you bring in the fact that he's dragging Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre into his mess. Drew was literally on a whole, I'm ready to move on to the main event. I'm ready to take on anybody. And I honestly believed Drew McIntyre versus Braun Strowman could have worked as a feud. And instead they're like, no, he's got to be a lackey again, which is just what they'd got him out of doing for Baron fucking Corbin. And why does anyone...
Hold on, dude. The stream says it's buffering. I don't really know how to deal with this. Right. Oh, God. If only we had someone to tell us how the stream quality is. I mean, I can't do it because it'll come out again. But the health indicator is red.
Oh, dear.
Bad video output low. Stream is healthy.
Okay. Well,
hopefully, if it's just video output, the only video is a still image anyway.
Oh,
so,
so anyway, the major problem with, getting back onto things with Braun Strowman and, we were on to Drew McIntyre at that point. Drew conceivably could have been a main eventer, and they pulled him back for Baron Corbin. And again, why does anyone have loyalty to Corbin when Corbin does not have any power anymore? In fact, the reason the McMahons came back was because Baron Corbin fucked up. You know, I thought the entire reason that they set Braun Strowman and everyone on him to begin with was because he'd fucked up and they just wanted to punish him because they couldn't fire him or something.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense why anyone is loyal to Baron, because it's not like he can offer anyone anything.
I don't think they want you to think about that.
I mean, granted, now their answer to most things is to just bring Roman Reigns and Seth and Dean out to, you know, beat up Baron Corbin, Lashley, and Drew, which again damages them or damages Lashley and Drew. So, you know, that's bad for them.
Where does that leave Elias?
Oh, and Elias, well, Elias is just there to, you know, take the fall occasionally.
Yeah. SmackDown was really more of the same this week, I thought. I mean, I'm liking it.
We're living in the... I mean, don't get me wrong, I love crazy vegan Daniel. I love...
Oh, yeah.
Crazy militant Daniel Bryan is brilliant. I mean, granted, this week alone, I have seen a friend of mine get assaulted verbally by a vegan for just asking questions about veganism and stuff. And Daniel is just that extreme.
Yeah.
He's that wrestling to begin with. So, you know, he had no knowledge. And the thing that one of the few jokes they loved to throw on him was the fact that he had no idea about wrestling, no idea about wrestling history, had no respect for it. And he would run around the performance center pretending to be this big fan of Dusty Rhodes. And he had no idea about any of Dusty Rhodes' history. So they decided to fuck him over by making a comment about the Midnight Rider, which was one of Dusty Rhodes' gimmicks when he was supposedly retired, so he wrestled under a mask to hide it. And they made some joke and comment, and Enzo's like, oh, that's disrespectful to Dusty, man. And like, Dusty was the Midnight Rider, you fucking idiot. Oh, yeah, I knew that. And I think they confronted him at one point and told him, look, you're the fakest fucking person here. You got fake hair, you got fake tattoos, you're wearing fake jewelry, you've got a fake tan. The only thing real about you is that you're a guy. That was the sad truth. You call yourself the realest guy in the room. The only real thing about you is that you're a guy. You keep saying that you're Italian, but you're actually German. Nothing about him was real. And he still thinks he's mature enough and, you know, he's better than everyone else because he got told off because he signed his driver's license with a dick.
Well, apparently he said that he did see King Kong Bundy wrestle at WrestleMania, but I don't see how that's possible since he was born in 1986.
Well, again, I remember King Kong Bundy wrestled in the first, second, and third one, and he did have a match at WrestleMania 11. But there was a massive fucking gap between the WrestleManias when King Kong Bundy was around. So unless he maybe watched The Undertaker at WrestleMania 11, I highly doubt, you know, he actually watched him wrestle. He's basically making shit up again. He knows nobody in wrestling. He's never met any real legends apart from whoever was there at the company, you know, when he was there, you know, when he was working for the WWE. He's had no interest in wrestling. I mean, the guy literally broke his leg taking an arm drag, for fuck's sake. I'm not making that up. He literally did an arm drag with Sin Cara and he broke his own leg. I don't even know how that's fucking physically possible, but Enzo Amore did it.
Oh god, he's pathetic.
He is pathetic at this point. He was a horrible person to be around, but let's move on to other stuff on SmackDown, which I honestly don't know what else was I'm trying to remember what else was going on because I don't want to focus on The Miz and Shane McMahon's entire storyline because it's fucking stupid.
Well, let's see what else is there.
I think I may have tuned out at that point because I don't remember them being on the show.
Well, The Miz did defeat Jey Uso.
Yeah, he beat Jey Uso, but that was about it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Let's see.
I sound like such an awful casual on these things, don't I? Well, that's what I've become.
Unless
Ricochet and Aleister Black is they've started teaming them up in NXT. Where now they're in the Dusty Rhodes Classic, which is a tag team tournament for those uninitiated, where they have moved on to the second round.
That's cool. I gotta start watching NXT again.
It consists of DIY and Mustache Mountain.
Well, yeah. And
don't get me wrong, all good teams. DIY is actually a pretty damn good team anyway, and Mustache Mountain, well, I love Mustache Mountain.
And well, that's pretty much all. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's really all there is to Raw and SmackDown. There isn't really anything else going on.
Yeah.
Which is kind of depressing when you think about it, but again, there's not really much substance on the shows when it's coming up to Fastlane season and you just want it out of the way so WrestleMania season and the big builds can come up.
Yeah.
So, well, we could just bring up the other things we're going to talk about, like Arnan. Well, a couple of people got fired last week. Actually, TJ Perkins was fired for his attitude backstage, apparently getting to the point where it was intolerable.
What was he doing?
He's apparently extremely disrespectful to agents and the catering staff, especially. So apparently they've had way too many complaints about the way he behaves. So they made enough complaints that they just went, fine, let's just let him go. So TJ Perkins is gone.
Right.
Dillinger asked for his release and he got it. He's honestly been looking like he's wanted his way out of the company for a while at this point.
Yeah. Well, he can turn up in AEW and be over as hell.
Yeah. And then, of course, you've got... Let's see. Oh, yeah, Arn Anderson got fired.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently for letting Alicia Fox work drunk.
Yeah, you mentioned before the podcast. That's, I find that funnier than I should.
Okay. Also, Lena need a shower. She's been sweating a lot.
Okay. Right.
That can wait till after the podcast, but it can't be too late.
Okay. Right. Right. Sorry about that. So I'm just making dinner for Liz, but I am still here.
Yeah. Well,
So basically, Alicia Fox got drunk and continued to work. This is similar to that time when Finlay got fired for letting The Miz interrupt the national anthem. So it's kind of similar situation. Well, where they fired someone for a bad decision.
Yeah.
Arn's gone, which makes it funny that he didn't turn up for Ric Flair's birthday or anything, which was, thing.
Yeah.
But Alicia Fox refused to take rehab, so she's now done a runner. So no one knows where she is. She hasn't turned up to any events.
Right.
Alicia Fox is the black woman that's only there because Michael Hayes likes to wank over her.
That's true.
That's not even me just being mean. That is literally the only reason she's there. Michael Hayes hates black men, but he likes black women. It's weird like that.
Oh, it's weird how many white men that are racist towards the black men.
Yeah, hun, don't do this kind of conversation here, please.
Sorry.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
But yeah, she's now done a runner, but apparently this isn't even the first offence, which may actually screw her over a bit more, as she's been notorious for picking fights with Ronda Rousey backstage.
Why?
She apparently likes to pick fights with her husband a lot and make very inappropriate comments to her husband a lot.
Yeah, okay, but I reiterate, why?
Because Alicia Fox is a cunt. I'm sorry. I'm I know you'd be demonetized for that, but she is a cunt. She's literally only been there because, again, Michael Hayes has the hots for her. That's the only reason she's had a job as long as she has. Otherwise, she would have been let go for the multiple times she's actually hurt people.
Yeah, don't worry about me getting demonetized. I'd have to be monetized for that to be a problem.
Not my channel. But in all seriousness, yeah. She's now gone AWOL, which I won't miss her. She wasn't doing anything anyway. I mean, that's Alicia's entire thing, isn't it? She doesn't do anything.
This is why I thought a wrestling podcast would be a good idea.
Well, yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, moving on to other things. Ronda Rousey's continuously making an ass.
If nothing else, it's entertaining.
Yeah, making herself an ass on Twitter by making threats, pissing off the WWE WWE in general. Apparently, they're not happy with the recent behaviour, and going on your Facebook and telling people, your YouTube and telling people to fuck off. Fuck every one of them. Honestly, I was expecting this breakdown a long time ago.
Right. Well, we have 20 minutes left. Didn't you want to pitch a future angle?
Homework. You said it was homework last week.
Yeah, and then I forgot about it, so I didn't do it.
So it looks like I'm the only fucker that's doing it.
It looks like it.
Yeah.
So my thing is the homework, I believe, was set up a program for after WrestleMania. So I assumed we could use WrestleMania, something kicking off at WrestleMania to start the storyline. So my idea was an NXT invasion started by Triple H. Now,
all right, take us through it.
Now, I will be taking a few liberties here, one of which will be a change to one of the matches at WrestleMania. Now, how it will be is the match at WrestleMania would be Triple H versus Batista, but Batista would have Vince McMahon in his corner. Basically, this would be built up as Triple H fighting for complete control of the company on screen, mentioning Vince. He'll make comments about Vince's recent decisions and how he's caused them nothing but problems. Vince will, push the whole, but I'm Vince McMahon, I can do what I want, and you're getting a bit too power hungry with your NXT crap. You send me up all these guys and most of them are failures. This will start an argument between them, but then Batista will remind him, he's there, and Batista will end up just becoming a representation for Vince in a way as well.
Yeah.
So it ends up becoming but the way the match goes is Batista's pretty much dominating the entire thing. And Stephanie tries to interfere, but Vince gets rid of her, has her removed from the building, exercising his power, thus making Stephanie look powerless, and meaning Triple H is on his own. However, before they make it a no disqualification thing, which is why Stephanie had tried to interfere in the first place.
Yeah.
And Vince is loving this, and he ends up getting involved in a bit where Triple H is beaten down pretty badly. Then, just as Batista's about to end it, Undisputed Era run in and beat down Batista. So that's 4 members of Undisputed Era beating down Batista. Vince tries to run in, but then the War Raiders grab him and pull him out. Then you've got Velveteen Dream, you've got a load of the other NXT guys pretty much beating the crap out of Batista and Vince McMahon while Triple H is smiling intently.
Huh.
While this is going on, obviously Batista then gets lifted up and pretty much thrown into after he's taken a few moves from them, so the fans who wouldn't have seen NXT get to see Triple H see these guys actually do some of their special moves, like War Raiders doing their double team and DIY doing theirs. And once it's all over, they force Vince to watch as Triple H gets Batista and pedigrees him, pins him. Triple H gets complete control of the company. Vince is horrified and watches. Batista then goes, because I think he was only down for a 1-match deal anyway.
Yeah.
So Batista is now completely out of the picture. Next week on Raw, Triple H comes out to, start his promo, but it becomes like a thing between him and Stephanie, where Stephanie didn't know he was going to bring the NXT guys, and she thinks they're going to share the power, but Triple H is just like, yeah, Steph, here's the thing. I'm kind of going to be running it 100%. You see, my name's on the thing, not yours. So Stephanie will keep trying to make decisions, and Triple H will just undermine her, and he'll start bringing NXT guys in for, interference. Like they'll appear at ringside with him, and he'll introduce them, and he's going to do it right.
Yeah.
So so they're all aligned together, but they start having matches against Raw guys. And so you still have the Revival versus Aleister Black, and you have your.
I like how you're not even trying to hide your disdain for Stephanie McMahon in this booking.
A lot of this is mainly due to the fact that Stephanie has had very few chances to look weak.
Oh, right, I see.
This is one of them, because the only person I think who could get away with it at this point is her husband.
Yeah.
So she's Stephanie would have to sit back and watch as Triple H does things like he has Aleister Black and Ricochet versus the Revival, but instead it ends in a dirty finish as Undisputed Era interfere, take out the Revival and allow Ricochet and Aleister Black to win. They get the titles. This pisses off the fans a little bit, and but Aleister Black and Ricochet are kind of unaware of all this.
Yeah.
They're not really aware that any of this is going on, and the referee's been out, so they don't know that NXT's interfered on their behalf. This also goes into the main event level stuff where Triple H starts just interfering completely by having Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano attack the Shield. By this point, Dean Ambrose is gone completely.
I see.
So, we're going off the idea that he is actually completely gone at this point.
Yeah.
This leads us to Roman Reigns. Whatever he does at WrestleMania, I don't know. It's not going to be the main event. We know that, and we know that, and we're also going off the assumption that Seth hasn't won at WrestleMania, because they want to save that honor for Roman. However, then Roman gets taken out by more NXT guys. Seth comes out for the save. Seth gets beaten down, and Triple H is just reconfirming his power, pretty much, that he runs the show. It's not about them, and he starts to go on one of his old power trips that he hasn't had in a while.
Ah, yes, I remember. Good times.
So he's starting to use the NXT guys for his own gain, but they're still champions in NXT as well.
Yeah. Like Kevin Owens was when he first came up.
Yeah, so then there starts to be confusion backstage, like there's skits where people are concerned of anyone who came from NXT, and they make reference to the fact that Seth and Roman are from NXT, but then they make the comment, then the joke is made at one point, like Seth and Dean try maybe run into a couple of them backstage and come on, we were from NXT too, and yeah, you were, but look at you now. And Roman, he was barely there. We've been working our asses off in NXT, and we've been doing this, and this, and having to make our, do our thing better than you. We've been putting on better shows than you have. We're here to fix this crappy show that you and Vince and everyone else has made. So At one point, for the next pay-per-view, there's a load of. Obviously, you still have some of the matches that don't include NXT, because you can't have them completely invade, completely take over every match. Otherwise, we end up with the NWO sold out.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of organised matches, one of which ends up being Roman Reigns versus a surprise NXT guy, and it turns out to be Matt Riddle. Now, this is hilarious. I've ever seen Matt Riddle work, but Matt's basically a really good MMA guy, but he just looks like a stoner. And in one of the weirdest things of the night, Roman actually puts over Matt Riddle clean. Not by pinfall and not by submission, mind. By actual knockout. Roman gets kneed in the face. That's it. Which, you know, surprise to the crowd, Roman's lost clean. And it gives Matt Riddle a bit of a stronger thing, because Matt's not shy about he wants Brock Lesnar.
Right.
Like Matt Riddle legitimately says he wants to retire Brock Lesnar completely. So he's going to go through the one guy that everyone keeps saying is the guy who's going to be and end Brock Lesnar. So he's knocked Roman out, and this causes EMTs and even Seth to come out and help him back out.
Wait a minute, but how does that make Roman look strong?
It doesn't, and that's the best. That's the ultimate twist. Roman is at a point where it'll be okay for him to put someone else over for once.
Yeah.
How this will affect other people by this point, other people are probably trying to keep on on Triple H's good side, but Stephanie starts doing things behind Triple H's back. Like, you know, getting him to leave the arena or stuff, or, you know, maybe there's a big NXT pay-per-view coming up, and she suggests he goes away and sorts that out, and he patronizes her with a list of what she's got to do while he's gone, and as soon as he's out the door, she tosses it aside and starts, you know, starts enforcing rules to try and make it a bit fair again.
Yeah.
This leads to a Team Stephanie versus Triple H match.
Yeah.
Where Triple H picks a bunch of NXT guys in like a Survivor Series style match to go against some of Stephanie's guys, which will be captained by Roman and Seth.
Ah.
Naturally, how this would go over is that it'd be for like control. If Stephanie wins, she gets at least 50% control of the company. If she does it, if Triple H loses, Stephanie isn't allowed to be on Raw at all, or WWE in general. She's not allowed to be on the product anymore. Her team do win with only Roman surviving. So you've got your Roman strong moments.
Gotta make Roman look strong.
Well, you've got him. Well, the thing is, everyone else. The whole aim of it is everyone looks good in it.
Yeah.
And the point is that Roman barely wins it, because that way you've still put over the NXT guys.
Yeah.
Only NXT guys can still hang with the WWE, with the main roster guys, but you've still maintained the status quo that, you know, Roman is still the major star, and you haven't thrown him away for when the NXT guys do go back down.
I see.
And what Stephanie does is she basically, one of her first things is she sends the NXT guys back for a sense of balance.
Yeah.
Saying Triple H didn't need these things, so it's back to pretty much being a 50-50 partnership, which will eventually turn into a thing when Vince tries to if Vince is alive by that point, trying to get his company back.
Well, we're talking about within a year. I'm sure Vince will be around by that point.
Well, it gives Vince a chance to be off television. Also, not only that, it introduces an audience to the NXT guys. I feel is a proper way.
Yeah, and it would give a chance for testing the waters with how to use these NXT guys, because you've noticed, no doubt, that when NXT people get called up, they often either get lost in the shuffle, or what worked for them in NXT doesn't really work as well on the main roster.
I mean, Kevin Owens was in a major storyline, so that's why he lasted pretty well.
Yeah.
Him being
There's also the fact that Kevin Owens is just great at what he does.
Yeah, so that worked out well for him.
Yeah. Not that any of the other call-ups weren't, but I don't know.
They weren't handled correctly. I think that's the ultimate thing, is that the handling of your talent is very important, and that should be, that's obvious.
Yeah. So
it should be obvious that the booking needs to be on point. So this way, you've introduced the audience to the NXT guys, let them have their thing, and the thing is that this is also relying on them actually being able to do an invasion angle. The only worry I have about this is it would have to intertwine with some of the NXT episodes.
yeah,
Not only that, you'd also have to make sure it's not that the McMahons are not the sole focus.
yeah, because I think that undermines the potential of a lot of stories. As for the intertwining with the NXT shows, I don't think that's much of a problem. There are ways to do that sort of thing without punishing people who don't watch both.
Well, the thing is, the problem with bringing NXT guys up, for me, has always been, you and me know who Aleister Black is.
Yeah.
We know who Ricochet is. We've seen enough NXT, but someone like Ian is just being introduced to them now. That's the problem. Ian doesn't have access to NXT like we do, so he doesn't know who these guys are, what they're like, and what their deal is. I mean, we knew about the whole rising up from the fog thing a year or two ago when he debuted.
Yeah.
Whereas Ian's just seeing this stuff now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, when Elias debuted, what the hell did you know about him other than he carried a guitar?
Not much.
Exactly. I mean, and also Big E Langston, before he turned up as, the guy for Dolph Ziggler.
Big E.
Did you know he was an NXT World Champion whose entire gimmick was that he was so good he would demand that the matches ended in a 5 count rather than a 3 count?
I only knew him as AJ's bodyguard.
That's literally, but that's it. That's all you knew him as. Before that, he was on NXT beating people but demanding the pin go on for 5 because he was good enough. Hell, he even got Vicky Guerrero with chalk at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, the clapping his hands with the chalk and getting her in the face.
Yeah, and screaming while he did it. Like I always liked Big E. Like there was always something entertaining about him. Like no matter what his gimmick was at the time.
Well, I've got to remember that Seth Rollins' gimmick before he came in as the Shield was that he literally just headbanged a lot. And the worst part was they changed his gimmick while he was the champion, so he was still the NXT champion when he debuted on WWE.
Yeah, I remember.
And as for Paige, well, we knew how good Paige was in NXT before she came up. Before she came up.
Yeah.
And oh God, was Paige good.
Speaking of, have either of you seen Fighting with My Family yet?
I've heard good things so far, but that's all I've heard.
Everything all right over there, dude?
Sorry, I'm just trying to put something in the oven.
Oh, okay.
Let's ask for dinner.
Ah, right.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all right.
I remember watching the documentary.
Huh.
But that was like a while back.
I don't think I saw that, but I am very interested in seeing that movie. Alright, well, we've reached the 1 hour mark, so we should probably be winding down. But, guys, what say you to a Fast Lane watch-along this weekend?
I'm all up for it.
Cool. WWE have started doing the same thing. Not that we weren't throwing ourselves into way too much competition anyway, but I wouldn't expect any viewers.
I don't care. I just want to have some fun watching. Well, I just want to watch some wrestling with my buds.
Yeah, cool.
At the end of the day, isn't that what wrestling is about?
Well, no, it's about making Roman Reigns look strong, apparently. But
fuck you.
and Vince McMahon making more money.
It's all about the money. It's all about the money. Do you remember that?
Liz unfortunately got to see that scene of him trying to be a rapper. When he go, oh, do that line that Owen Hart just said to you. How about I come out there and smack the piss out of you, little punk? And then Owen just ran down and pulled him out and beat the crap out of him. He said he was going to do it. Owen said he was going to do it. You knew he was going to do it, and you listened to Jerry Lawler. Do not go to Jerry Lawler for life advice. This is a guy who lost his job for a year because he sided with his underage-looking wife, who then divorced him shortly afterwards.
Right, well, dudes, we've gone over the 1 hour mark, but I hope any viewers will join us this weekend for the Fastlane watch along. And
I expect mail bombs now, thanks to my Vince McMahon line.
I'll see what I can do about getting rid of it.
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
Sorry about
No, I don't think anybody heard. But
I'm trying. I know. Yeah. I'm not a racist person.
We'll see you guys Sunday.
See you on Sunday. Bye.